I guess to me, business is the ultimate arena to do meaningful work with others and for others. I kind of think that might even be a little bit the secret to success is a willingness to help other people.
That quote really resonated with me. It's from a recent conversation that I had with my friend and fellow CEO, Douglas Skipworth. And the way that he framed business, not just as a way to generate revenue and profit, but as an arena for doing meaningful work with and for people, that really stuck with me. Because the longer I've led a business and talked with others who do, the more that I've seen that to be true. When we lead with purpose and we serve others well, growth becomes about more than just numbers. It's about something sustainable and fulfilling. And Douglas has built multiple companies serving real estate investors, owners, and tenants. But what ties them all together is his mindset. He is building to serve and to help, and he's creating opportunities for others on his team to do the same. He's building something that lifts people up, and that's his version of success. And that's the kind of leadership that scales.
You're listening to the Growth Minded Marketing Podcast. I'm Annie Laurie Walters, joined by our host, Steve Phipps, President and CEO of Wayfind Marketing. On this podcast, we have practical conversations to help simplify marketing for CEOs and their teams. And we also sit down with CEOs who are applying these principles in the real world, leaders who are aligning their strategy, clarifying their message, and building purpose-driven businesses.
And Douglas is one of those leaders. He's built a group of companies focused on real estate services, everything from property management to staffing, and he's done it with a strong foundation of purpose and clarity.
What really stood out to me in this interview is how consistently he returns to this idea of service, not just servicing clients, but serving his team and his community. That mindset is shaping everything that he's doing, from how he's growing his business to how he does his marketing and every outcome that flows from that.
Exactly. And if you are a CEO or an owner trying to lead through growth without losing your footing, this conversation has a ton of insight. Let's get to it.
Here's Steve's conversation with Douglas Skipworth.
Welcome to the Growth Minded Marketing Podcast. I'm really excited about today's guest. So I have with me today, Douglas Skipworth, and Douglas owns several companies, all with a kind of a real estate type bent. And I'm going to let Douglas share more about who he is and what he does. But Douglas and I got connected probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And I think it was through C12. It was through Kevin Wilkins and who connected us. And anyway,
right.
So Douglas, welcome to the podcast. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and the companies that you have and what you guys do?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. It's great to be here. My name is Douglas Skipworth. I own several companies that help real estate investors buy, finance, and take care of their properties. So you know how real estate investors are always looking for good deals, reliable help, and easy money. Our companies provide real estate brokerage, property management, hard money lending, and general contracting to residential real estate investors in Memphis and throughout the Mid-South. So do you know anybody who owns rentals or flips houses? That's who we help. So if they need a realtor, a property manager, a general contractor, or lender, that's kind of what we do.
So you have an interesting story. So I know now you have this collection of companies that are individual yet related, but
Yes.
Where did you get your start? Because you didn't start out with 5 or 6 companies, however many is in the group right now, but where did you get started?
Yeah, the short answer is I got into real estate investing myself to lay a foundation upon which I could build a long-lasting and people-serving business, which ironically became a business that helps real estate investors. So the longer version of the story goes back to 1983 in Shreveport, Louisiana, when a scrappy 3rd grade basketball team won a YMCA championship. So
I love the
it's
fact
cool.
that you're taking this back to the 80s. Like, this is great. This is going to be a good story.
Well, as corny as it sounds, that really set me on a love of accomplishing meaningful missions with teammates. And so I hoped it would lead to a great NBA career as a point guard like John Stockton. But in high school, I ended up a little too short and too slow. So in college, I studied organizational leadership, and I thought it might be a position in the church because there's hardly a better mission than doing God's work with God's people. But before I got the call, I saw the light of business.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, I fell in love with a Memphis girl and
Oh,
realizes I needed a steady job to support my lady.
that does require finances. I can
Yes.
attest to that.
Yes, yeah, what they said, the romance without the finance is a damn nuisance.
Yeah, that'd be for a great description.
That's flipping back to the old 80s in basketball and listening to Big Daddy Kane.
Yeah, there you go.
But I'm telling
This is great. We're getting all kinds of cultural references.
There
This
you
is
go.
great.
So I wanted to learn all I could about business. And so I got a position with a commercial bank here in Memphis back in 96. And I've been with a commercial bank and I've been lending, underwriting, and borrowing ever since. Because, yeah, I guess to me, business is the ultimate arena to do meaningful work with others and for others. So I kind of think that might even be a little bit the secret to success is willingness to help other people. So you kind of help yourself by helping others. So that's really kind of the impetus and jumping off as to how I got into real estate investing, because as I got into the banking world, I realized I wanted to be on the other side of the table instead of just the advisor. I wanted to be the advisee. And so again, I saw real estate investing as an opportunity to lay that foundation. And then I was going to figure out a business, but I knew that real estate investing could provide some cash flow and some assets. And for my lady and for the future businesses and everything in the future.
So you're in banking, you're interacting with real estate investors, you realize that's something you want to be doing. So
Yes.
so you leave the bank and
Yes.
you start investing.
Yes.
Is that kind of what it looked like?
Sorta. And I left out a couple stops where through the bank, I got into accounting and finance, and then was working, kind of left that and was working in real estate technology, underwriting loans, working for banks with valuing collateral, doing automated valuations model. Kind of if you think of Zillow before Zillow is what we were doing. So I learned a lot about real estate investing and said, hey, this is an opportunity to do this on the side while we're growing this business. And that's when I was like, oh man, now there's an opportunity to manage property for other people that would generate a fee so I could help manage my own property. Those friends and family who we were started managing for needed help buying rental property. So we started a brokerage. So this is all Cresco Realty. So Cresco Property Management, Cresco Realty, and down.
So that was the first company.
The first company was Cresco Realty. We were doing property management and real estate brokerage. Still do.
And so when did you start Cresco?
Oh, we started third-party management in 2009. And then Cresco came about officially excited to get a real estate license and then a broker license. So it took 3 years for me. 2012 is when Cresco started.
Okay. All right. So 2009, you jump in. 2012 is when the company officially launches.
Yeah, 2007 is when I say 2003 to 7, I was kind of buying rentals on my own. And it was 2009 we started helping other people buy, manage. Yeah, so we started like, hey, this is when the idea became a business, on its own.
So 2012, you launch Cresco.
Yes.
So give me a high level view. What does it look like? Because I mean, we're talking 13 years.
Yes.
And so you went from one company to now good companies.
We got a group of companies that help, again, the real estate investors. And it was all, what do we need? What do our investors need? The first thing they needed after property management was to buy and sell properties. That's the brokerage. And then we were using independent contractors, chucking a truck to help us take care of the properties. And you'll appreciate this. Chucking a truck becomes 2 chucks in a truck. And then it becomes a cluster chuck. Yes. So managing a bunch of independent contractors was too much. So we started our own maintenance company.
Okay. So you're growing,
On.
more clients, and you're just seeing that these are needs that you are wanting and needing to meet. And so really you're starting these businesses as a means of just continuing to extend what you're doing. And really, like you said, I mean, when you're using a bunch of independent contractors, you don't have a lot of control there.
At all.
What
That's
was
exactly
what was
right.
that doing to your investors and the folks you're managing for? What is that doing to that experience for them when it was the contractors?
Like I said, it became a cluster just because you lose control of the contractors and the process, and the cost can get out of hand, the quality can get out of hand, the timing can get out of hand. The good old service triangle, if you know, the speed, cost, and quality. And
Yeah.
you lose control of those three variables, which are so important in all businesses, but especially in a service business like property management. So that's where City Light, we had Cresco Realty, Cresco Property Management, and we'd started City Light because we thought, oh, maybe we'll do work for other property management companies, other real estate brokerages. And we don't know if Cresco Maintenance is going to do work for Cry Like or for Keller Williams, since we're in some ways competitive with clients. So it's all just extensions of customer service. It's a little bit of a vertical integration and kind of controlling the process and bringing more systems to the process, as well as more control to the process, more consistency to the process.
Okay. So you now have a maintenance group. And of course, we've had the opportunity to work with y'all in a couple of capacities with Core
Yeah.
Assist. Y'all have been our client. We are now your client.
Oh, right on. That's
And
right.
so, talk a little bit about how you get into this placement service that you're now doing for folks.
Yeah. So we zipped through, we started lending because we had some clients who couldn't, they were international clients and they couldn't borrow locally. And then we had some people who were credit challenged, think medical bills, bankruptcies, divorce, something that made them hard to finance at the time. And so we became a lender by borrowing from our relationships to lend to them and just capturing a spread. So again, continuing to help the investors. And as we did that, all of a sudden it had kind of a scale in our business. And there was a lot of properties we managed, a lot of people we were helping. And so we turned to a company to help us called business process outsourcing. And so we would send our utility bills, because there are a lot of properties that have utility bills, and we would send them overnight and they would get processed in India and then they'd come back. But the team that processed them was nameless and faceless. And so that was great, but it was also difficult to build any kind of rapport and relationship. And we said, man, it would be really nice if we had a person dedicated to us, not just this nameless, faceless team. And so we found a company that would help us find a dedicated remote team member, a virtual assistant, someone to work outside of our office. And we got some dedicated, that worked great. And all of a sudden we started adding more and more dedicated remote team members, to the point where there were so many, we thought, man, maybe we should do this just for ourselves, because we have these sister companies that we could have our own little placement agency servicing these different, our own internal companies. And so we did that, maybe 2018. And like anything, if you have something good, other people want it. And so C12 and Vistage and some of these other groups that we were a part of said, hey, sounds like y'all have got something that's working. We'd sure like to try that too. And so that's when it became an outsourcing placement agency for others besides just our companies. It became Core Assist to help assist other companies with their virtual needs, their remote staffing, virtual staffing needs. So that's been great. And we've loved working with Wayfind on that. So it's been a lot of fun because.
Well, we've had a great experience. We just onboarded a team member this week, actually, and she's been
Awesome.
fantastic. And so we get to be the beneficiary of an opportunity that you saw and turned into a business.
Yeah. Well, as you can tell, it's like I'm really good at planning and organizing. And I've kind of got some strong skills around operations, customer service, finance, but I tend to overcomplicate things. I tend to attempt multiple things at once. tend to maybe to keep the vision in my head and not communicate it well. So after we started these companies, we didn't necessarily communicate this vision clearly to the team, which caused a lot of internal confusion. But then also there was some external confusion. And so because of our natural strengths over here and then natural areas where we're going to mess things up or our weaknesses, then we obviously needed some marketing and sales type of help. And that's kind of where we came to Wayfind initially with Core Assist to help us simplify that message, clarify that message. Because as you can even hear in this story, and we can maybe save it to the end, but we're engaging you again to help us do some more redesign, simplifying, clarifying, position ourselves in the marketplace with some brand architecture to get the fancy marketing.
Well, and I love the fact that we're getting to work with you guys because, as I started Wayfind a little over 10 years ago. And one of the things that to me is really important is, yes, we help people with marketing and communication, but really, I mean, our mission is we want to help other companies do more good. And one of the things that I've heard you say several times in this conversation is people serving. Like you said at the get-go, you wanted to do something, you saw an opportunity through business to serve people and having a team that is working together. You mentioned that idea of obviously in the context of a church or, going back to third grade in Louisiana, the early
hooping.
80s,
Yeah.
in your John Stockton days.
Yeah, there you go.
But just that love of having a team of people and doing something that is going to have some sort of a positive impact. I'd love to just take a minute and unpack that a little bit. Like, what does that look like for you through your businesses, how you work with your team?
Wow, that's great. Yeah, serving people is important. It's part of our core values. We always care, CARE, and it's character, it's accountability, it's results, and it's energy. But one of the things we talk about it is really like the business we're in is like we love the city, we love real estate, and we love helping people. And if you don't love those three things or two of those three things, it's going to be hard to work with us because the cities we work in, the real estate we do, and serve people, it's just who we are. I mean, if some of it is faith-based, one of my favorite New Testament verses is Mark 10:45, where it says, Jesus didn't come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So we are here to serve and we believe that, but we also kind of along those lines want to serve each other, not just the clients and not just, we work with a lot of rental property. So we work with a lot of residents and tenants. And so we want to provide a good experience for them. But internally, we want to have a team that's working together. I played point guard, kind of as we mentioned. So I love letting everybody shine. That's kind of the role of the point guard. And that's something that we have surrounded ourselves with similar, like-minded folks who are here to, to do more for others. Oh, back to that, it's a little, some might think it's a little hokey, the Enneagram, but I'm a Enneagram 3 wing 2. So it's like, I love to accomplish things, I love to help people. So that is a lot of what we do around here.
So I want to dig into this a little bit more. There's a couple of things here. Now, you mentioned a little while ago, as you guys have grown, there's been some confusion internally and externally, and we'll come back to what you mentioned a little while ago. That's getting consistency of messaging, both internally and externally. But really, I think for CEOs who are listening, I just want to reiterate sort of the subtext of what I'm hearing from you is a key part of this is obviously you have a clear vision, a mission, a desire for this to not just be something that generates revenue so you can take your wife out on nice dates, but this is something to impact the people you're serving, the residents, your team, investors, et cetera. I mean, there's a number of different people that y'all serve.
Yep.
But I'm also hearing within that there's an importance of one, understanding your own strengths and weaknesses. And so what I want to bring into this conversation for a moment, and of course, as you've already mentioned, we've had the opportunity to work together and we've had a lot of interaction with Matt Jones, who's your president and COO.
Yep.
And so, in the context of, do you guys, I can't remember, do you guys do EOS and
We
traction?
do. We
Okay.
absolutely do.
All right. Perfect. So you and I are going to be on the same page here then. So, in terms of leadership, I think about the visionary and the integrator. And so, is it safe to say, Douglas, that you're visionary and Matt's the integrator?
Yeah, very safe to say. Yeah.
So, what impact has that had on your company to once you brought him in, once you sort of got those roles clarified? What impact did that have on your business as far as growing it and really fulfilling your mission?
Oh man, it's been amazing. We're so thankful. We've got a great working relationship. We both get to play in our strength areas. And we just brought a lot of clarity and calm to the team and to the services that we're providing because again people are playing to their strengths. We think of unique ability, the way people are
Mhm.
wired up, things that they're good at, and try to make the weaknesses irrelevant by allowing people to pick up the slack. And so we've been able to implement a lot of what we dreamed of and able to really make it up, make it real. So making it, so we like to think of it like make it up, make it real, make it recur. So, or make it repeatable. And so it's like, okay, we can make it up. I guess it takes a certain skill set, but most CEOs can make it up. And a lot of entrepreneurs can make it real because they've got the energy and the vision to make it real. But making it recur, making it systematized, making it happen over and over with more and more excellence isn't always the CEO or an entrepreneur or a founder's strong suit. So to have a team and to have other people to take that and that's their strength has been incredible. So we've done one thing we've also done a lot of around this is like I alluded to the Enneagram, but we've used Culture Index, we've used Enneagram, we've used some other the Clifton Strengths, the 34
Yep.
Strengths. So we've used any tool we can, the 5 love languages. I mean, you name it, we're trying to understand ourselves and our team so we can all play to our strengths and rely on one another.
So, a point that I want to make here for our listeners is, growing a business is a holistic endeavor. And it's not just having a solid marketing plan. It's not just having a clear sales process and great salespeople. The business itself, the structure, the leadership. Yeah, I know businesses that can grow, but internally they're just a cluster. They are just an absolute mess. And so I think really the challenge and the goal is growing, but growing in a way that's healthy. And, so I love what you guys have done. It is that recognition of, as the CEO, you have certain things that you're good at, casting the vision. You said the customer service, and then having others on your team who bring their strengths to the table so that, again, you get this, it's putting all the puzzle pieces together. And so I think it's just
Yes.
important as the CEOs are thinking about how you're growing your business. Yes, you need an effective marketing plan. And I love clarity. We're going to come back to that. But you also internally, if you don't have that alignment, if you've got the wrong people in the wrong seats, if everybody on your team is confused, it's going to become very difficult. You might be growing, but your business isn't healthy. And that's not sustainable.
And we came through that. We wandered through the wilderness and before we got to the promised land. I mean, we were out there doing these things, going and growing. And the kind of things we mentioned earlier, trying to boil the ocean, trying to do it all at
Huh.
once, never saw a bad idea, squirrel, chasing the
Yeah.
squirrel, the
Yeah.
shiny object, everything entrepreneurs, founders, get are typically or notoriously guilty of. We did that. So it took a lot of time and effort to step back and some humility, or some maybe you have no choice when you're on the bottom to look up and when you get knocked down to ask for a hand up. And so that's kind of where we got where kind of eating some humble pie, maybe that's a better way to say it,
Yeah.
where we had to come to it's Wayfind and be like, hey, we need some help. We aren't doing what we want to be doing, or we've confused ourselves and our team and our market, or hey, can you help us clarify this or improve this because it's not on our own. We can't do what we want to do.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and we'll start landing the plane here. And I want to
Okay.
kind of wrap this up with this whole point of clarity. So internally getting that alignment, as you said, in doing that, you get this clarity. But let's talk about clarity as it relates to a brand and helping people in the marketplace know who you are and what you do. Because I think you've experienced moments of clarity. And as you and I have talked, there are places where you recognize we need more clarity. So I think I just want to set the context here for just a minute. The mistake that I think a lot of companies make is they will plug money into a marketing campaign. They'll put it into paid ad campaigns or whatever the initiative is, but they overlook really a cornerstone, and is what you do clear to the people you're trying to reach. Is it easy
Yes.
for them to understand? And so again, as you said, we've worked with y'all to bring some of that clarity, and now you have sort of a new phase of additional clarity. So share, if you would, kind of your perspective and your experience on why clarity is important and what happens when you get it, thinking in terms of the brand in the marketplace.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think when you don't have it, it's clunky, it's messy, it's too much, it's unclear whether that's internally. And I heard it one time, if there's confusion in the workplace, there's confusion in the marketplace.
Yes.
So if you're not clear internally and can't articulate it, communicate it, share it, then it gets lost in translation. And so we definitely found that. So one thing that is beneficial of simplifying, getting clarity is the internal communication improves exponentially because you're
Mm,
able to communicate. You're on the same page, literally, whether you put it on one page or you're all able to sing off the song sheet. So it's very helpful. And then two, when you enter the marketplace, you're all saying the same thing. So it's a lot more helpful when you're having conversations with prospects or existing clients. Everybody is sending the same message. They're speaking the same language. They're talking the same talk. So that has really been, I think, the two benefits for us, the internal and the external, and then to kind of position ourselves both internally and externally. It's almost like you have two constituents from the message. The message
yeah.
has the internal client and the external clients, but the message is the same, and the message is what you got to get clear and then communicate it well with both groups.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say too, that message exists at multiple levels. I'm thinking about, like, for a group of companies like yours, you have this overarching sort of brand, and there's a thread that runs through all of it at a high level. But then as you drill down into specific companies and within those companies, specific service lines and different things that you do, having that clarity becomes more important, especially as your companies grow, or it's anyone's company as they grow. And as the founder, nobody cares more about your clients than you do. But you don't have the capacity to have a conversation with every one of your clients and customers.
Yeah.
And so having that consistency makes it much more likely that the folks you're serving are going to have a consistent experience because they're hearing the same thing and your team is on the same page, like you said. So yeah, I think that's incredibly important.
Well, the only thing, as you were talking, one thing that reminded me also with both groups, internal, external, it gives you a lot of confidence as a leader, as a leadership team. I mean, it's just it's an intangible, it's a peace of mind to know that you've got a message that you can articulate, that resonates, that gets the response. So there's it's an intangible, but it's invaluable, priceless. It's amazing,
Man, I
Very
love
important.
that. And especially in organizations where you have salespeople who are communicating and it's not just buying a product off of a website, that confidence becomes incredibly important because your buyers, your prospects, your customers, they pick up on that.
Yeah.
So Douglas, as we wrap this up, what's one piece of advice based on, maybe it's something that we've already talked about, maybe it's something else that we haven't touched on yet, but what piece of advice would you give to that founder, that CEO who they are working to build and scale their company? From your experience, what would you share with them that you think would be really important for them to know as they grow their company?
Yeah. To continue with the theme of the clarity in simplifying, whether that's the marketing message But even back before that, and we alluded to EOS or referenced it, getting clear on the vision, getting clear on the target market, getting clear on the core values, getting clear on the purpose, your niche. So just getting that clarity, again, not only does it get the team on the same page, it gives you a lot of confidence. It makes things repeatable and scalable. It improves your receptivity to the market. I mean, the market, they are way more receptive to a unified and clarifying message, not a confusing message. We've learned that. So cash is king, yes, but clarity is king, for sure. So however, clarify everything and simplify everything at the same time.
Fantastic. I love that. And, I think it's just to close on that note, man, clarity and simplicity are beautiful things, but folks don't need to underestimate the amount of work and time and
There you go.
energy that goes into getting there. Because if it was easy, everybody would have it. But as you and I both know, a lot of folks don't. And so I love the fact that you guys have and are continuing to put in the time and the effort and the resources to get that clarity for your internal team, for your existing customers, and those that you're going to have opportunity to serve in the future.
Yeah, you said it well. We're still refining it, still revising it, still working on it. It's a never ending work in process. So trying to make it better.
Fantastic. Douglas, thank you so much for joining me today. I had a blast, picked
This
up
was
some fun
great.
phrases.
Yes, it was fun.
But
Thank you.
man, looking forward to having more conversations with you in the future. And thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going to leave it with if anybody wants to connect.
Where
to
can
me
they
on
find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great one. And then my link tree is just, Linktree/Skipworth. And that's got a link to all the websites, got a link to all the contact info. So can put everybody in touch that way.
Fantastic.
Would love to.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much. And we'll also make sure to include that in the show notes so
Okay,
people
thank
can
you.
get
Yeah,
to
awesome.
you. And we'll put links to your company websites as well.
Awesome. Okay, man. Thanks, Steve. Great
All
being
right.
with you.
Steve, that was such a great interview. And one thing that I'm thinking about, just having listened to it, is that Douglas isn't just building companies, he's building a mission around helping others. And I just love how that purpose is showing up and showing through in everything that he's doing.
Absolutely. He's not only solving business problems, he's intentionally creating these spaces where people thrive. And that shows up in the customer experience and in the company culture. It's all connected.
And it's a reminder to me that leadership isn't just about setting a vision, it's also about aligning people and aligning your strategy and the systems so that the vision can actually come to life. And when you get that alignment right, that's when we really start to see marketing work the way it's supposed to.
100%. When you're leading with clarity, because you have internal clarity, then marketing doesn't feel forced. It becomes a reflection and an extension of who you are and what you're already doing well.
Steve, I'd like to take a minute, pull a few threads from the conversation. Douglas talked about clarity, and especially as his company grew, why is that so critical for CEOs?
Well, growth brings complexity and it's exponential. And so if you don't have a clear documented strategy, both for your business and your marketing, then your team can't repeat a clear message because they're not hearing a clear message internally. And ultimately, what that leads to is hitting friction in your marketing, your sales, and your operations. And so, this clarity, both internally and externally, keeps everyone aligned and focused and moving in the same direction.
Yeah, that's really good. He also mentioned that each new company that he started came from solving a need that he was observing in his customers. And that's really good. How would you advise CEOs to think about that when it comes to their own business leadership, their own marketing, you know, just taking that initiative? How would you advise or coach somebody with regard to that?
I would say it starts by listening to your customers. And it's easy sometimes when you're leading a business to lose sight of that, to lose that connection. And really, when it comes to marketing and a lot of things in business, a lot of those problems that we face are really clarity problems because we lose sight of who it is that we're serving and what they actually need. And especially as marketplace needs are changing, it's important to continue listening. And another thing that's important is Douglas wasn't about chasing trends. Yes, it's important to be mindful of what's going on around us in the marketplace and what those trends are, but he was continually focused on what his customers needed. He was paying attention and saw those opportunities to continue serving. And I mean, he was building real solutions around known and communicated customer pain points. And they had a way of solving those problems. And out of all, that's how marketing should function. It should be something that is focused on meeting real needs. And when we get that clarity that we've been talking about, marketing is clearly communicating the information to the right audience so that they then can make the best decisions for who they want to work with and what services they want. And so ultimately, it's having that clarity so it's not just broadcasting noise.
When Douglas said, I think this might be a paraphrase or direct quote, he said, we didn't always communicate the vision clearly to the team. I think that's something pretty common and just something everybody contends with. What would be your advice for a CEO in that spot?
But what's interesting is this correlates to another CEO interview that I did this morning. And it goes back to alignment and clarity of knowing your why, your purpose, and your mission, and then document it. What people often overlook is that your marketing, your messaging, fundamentally, it's an expression of who you are as a company and how you're trying to solve your customers' problems. So when you don't have that internal clarity, it becomes much more difficult to communicate that to your audience. So once you get that, then make sure that you're clear on who your audience is, what their specific needs and problems are, how you solve those problems, and then you build your messaging. And that's the words that you're using to tell people what you do and why it matters. You get your messaging clear. And then at that point, your sales and your marketing team can share it. It's consistent. And because if your team can't say it, if they're giving conflicting or differing explanations, then your customers are confused. And ultimately, we know that confusion is going to hurt your business. You're going to miss opportunities. And so marketing starts internally. It becomes more powerful when you have that clarity of your mission and your vision and your values. And then you get your team around that. And then that's when your messaging becomes truly powerful, when you connect it back to your why, as we've seen here with Douglas. One other thing I'll say about Douglas as well is he's recognized these places where maybe that wasn't being clearly communicated, and he's taken steps to solve that. Hey, it's Steve. And if anything in today's episode resonated with you, now I want you to know you don't have to figure marketing out on your own. Here at Wayfind, we offer marketing coaching services for CEOs and their teams who want clarity, alignment, and results that actually move the needle. We've helped leaders simplify their marketing, get everyone on the same page, and create a strategy that they can confidently execute without wasting time or money. If you're ready for clarity and traction, head over to wayfindmarketing.com and click on Discuss Your Marketing. Drop me a note and I'll follow up personally, whether you're ready for coaching or just want some help thinking through your next steps.
Again, big thanks to Douglas Skipworth for joining Steve for this conversation, and thank you for listening.
If this episode sparked something for you, there's probably another CEO in your circle who'd benefit from hearing it as well. Go ahead and share it. Send it their way.
And don't forget to follow, like, subscribe so you don't miss anything that's coming next. We've got more CEO stories and strategy-first insights coming your way.
We'll be back soon with more conversations to help you simplify your marketing so you can grow and scale your company.
We'll see you next time on Growth Minded Marketing.